Hello, y'all. How we doing, YouTube? I'm doing well, thank you. Today, I want to talk about a very special, very common term, and it's called default gateway. What is a default gateway? A default gateway can have an IP address starting with 192.168.1.1. This is just an example IP address. It can vary. It can have any kind of IP address, but this is the easiest IP address that I can actually demonstrate for you guys. So the default gateway would be 192.168.1.1. This would be the internal network, and this would be the internet. So what is a default gateway? A default gateway is, well, we pay attention to the word gateway. A gateway is an exit outside. So the router's responsibility is to route information outside. You're routing information outside the network. That's why it's called default gateway. So you might ask me, what happens if a router doesn't have a default gateway? Well, what happens is, if the router doesn't have a default gateway, there won't be any information to go out to the internet. So, like, let's say, for example, I'm at the library. Let's say I'm at the library and I'm trying to use the internet. If I can't use the internet if I have no default gateway. That's it. So it's important for us to have a default gateway. Why? Because once this router points to the internet, that means that all the information that we want access to has to go through a default gateway, which is 192.168.1.1. Now, how to configure a default gateway? That's an important topic, and we're gonna get to that. Understanding a default gateway. We go to PC0, go to configs, look, default gateway. We put an IP address to the default gateway, 192.168.1.1. All right, we're good. We do the same thing on PC1. 192.168.2.1. Why do I put a different number on the third group, which is called the third octet? Because these computers are on two different networks. So we're going to try to see if the default gateway works. Yes, it is working. PC1 is sending packets, meaning data, to router 0, which is the default gateway. Do the same thing with PC0. Yes, PC0 is sending out data or packets to our router, which is our default gateway. Thank you, y'all, for watching.